The station was quiet that night. Only the soft hum of the solar panels could be heard in the silence of Sector 9. Daniel, a human technician in his late 20s, sat inside a small control room. His boots were dusty, his shirt slightly torn, but his hands moved fast over the screen. He wasn't a hero or a soldier. He was just a man who fixed things, signal spike. Quadrant 4C, he muttered to himself, sipping his lukewarm coffee. He squinted at the screen. A strange wave pattern appeared, a pulse, not radio, not energy. It looked alive. It beat like a heart. He blinked, tapped the console, and checked the systems again. No error, the signal was real and it was moving. Daniel grabbed his toolkit and a handheld scanner. He slipped on his jacket and walked out into the cold night air. The wind in Sector 9 was dry, full of sand and static. The stars above blinked coldly, watching everything but saying nothing. He followed the signal through old metal corridors and forgotten paths of the outer scrapyard. These were the remains of old space tech, junk from wars that no one remembered. The scanner beeped faster and louder. Something or someone was here, behind a broken shuttle wing. He found it, a small pod cracked and smoking, lay half buried in sand and metal. Its surface was covered in strange glowing symbols. Daniel stepped closer, heart pounding. Then it moved. A weak hand pushed open the hatch. A figure crawled out, an alien woman. She had pale blue skin, glowing veins, and long white hair. Her body shook as she fell into the sand. Daniel rushed to her side. Hey, it's okay," he said, kneeling beside her. She looked up at him with glowing green eyes filled with fear. Her voice was soft and cracked. "Please, make it stop." Daniel's eyes widened. "But make what stop?" She gripped his wrist tightly. "It's inside me. I can't stop it from growing anymore." He pulled her arm over his shoulder and helped her to her feet. She was light. Too light. Like something had drained her from inside. As they walked back toward the control shack, she kept looking behind her as if something was chasing her. Inside, he laid her on the cot and gave her water. She gulped it down fast, trembling. He noticed her arms. Glowing lines ran up her skin like spreading roots, and they were moving slowly, pulsing. "I'm Daniel," he said. "You're safe now." She shook her head. "No one is safe. Not while it's still inside me." He sat down slowly, watching her carefully. "Are you a soldier? An alien agent?" She laughed weakly. "No, I'm a scientist." "I made a mistake." He leaned forward. "What did you do?" Her lips trembled. "I was working on regenerative DNA, something to help my people survive hostile worlds." "But it changed," she whispered. "It became something else, something that wants more." Daniel stared at her, unsure if she was crazy or telling the truth. The power flickered. Outside, the wind howled louder. She sat up suddenly, eyes wide. "It's searching for me through the signal." "What do you mean?" "I tried to hide the transmission," she said, "but it's linked to me now. It learns through me." Daniel grabbed a shielding blanket and wrapped it around the control room. He knew little about alien tech, but enough to jam weak pulses. Her breathing slowed a bit, but the glowing lines on her skin began to crawl toward her neck. "You don't understand," she said softly. "It's growing a mind." He stepped back, chills crawling up his spine. "I can't hide it anymore," she said again. "And I don't want to be the reason it spreads." Daniel looked at her, confused and afraid. He wasn't trained for this. He fixed solar panels, replaced fuses, and cleaned filters, but now, a dying alien scientist was begging him for help, begging him to stop something unknown, something growing. Valari sat on the edge of the small cot, her hands trembling. Daniel handed her another blanket. Unsure what else to do, her skin still glowed faintly. The strange lines on her arms now pulsing in slow, steady waves. She hadn't blinked in over a minute. She just stared at the wall like she was listening to something only she could hear. Outside, the wind had slowed, but the silence felt worse, like something was holding its breath, waiting. Daniel broke the silence. "Tell me what's going on." Valari turned her head slowly, her green eyes glowing a bit brighter now. "It started in a lab," she whispered, "a secret one. Deep inside the Zareen research moon." She clutched the side of her head, wincing. "I was working on adaptive tissue, something that could survive any climate. I wanted to help my people settle on colder, harsher planets." Daniel nodded slowly. "So, what happened?" "I made it too perfect," she said, her voice breaking. "I used a forbidden compound, a living seed from an ancient vault. My superiors warned me never to touch it, but I was curious." She looked down at her arm where the glowing lines were now forming small branching paths. It bonded with me, she whispered. It didn't just copy me. It became part of me. Daniel sat down on the metal stool, trying to process it. You're saying you merged with it? Valari nodded. At first it was silent. I thought it was harmless, that I had control. But then the dream started. She closed her eyes tightly. I'd see images, cities burning, stars going dark, voices chanting in languages I didn't know. It showed me things I never wanted to see. Daniel leaned forward. Is it alive? That thing inside you? Yes, she said firmly, and it's growing smarter every hour. She pointed to the glowing roots on her neck. It's trying to reach my brainstem. To fully sink, if it does, she added, I'll lose control. And it will have access to everything I know. Every defense code. Every escape route, every weakness of my species. Daniel's stomach dropped. So you ran, he said. I stole a research pod and launched toward the dead zone. No signals, no life. Just dust. I thought I'd die before it took over. But it held me together, kept me breathing. Because it wasn't ready to let go of me. Daniel stood and walked to his console. He typed in a few commands and checked the local transmission network. Your pod sent out an emergency beacon, he said. Before I found you, Valari's face went pale. That means they're coming, she whispered. My people will find me, and if they don't, the creature will call someone else. Daniel frowned. Call who? She looked at him with fear. Anyone it finds useful. Suddenly, the console blinked, an incoming ping. Daniel cursed under his breath. Unregistered vessel. Entering low orbit, he read. No ID, no reply signal. Valari's hands gripped the sides of the cot. They found me, she said, but they won't take me back to help me, they'll erase me. Daniel looked at her in shock. But you're a scientist, aren't they supposed to protect their own? They fear what I've become, she replied, her voice full of sadness. They don't see me as one of them anymore. The ground trembled slightly. A distant rumble echoed outside. Daniel quickly grabbed his old tool case, the one with emergency patches and portable dampeners. We have to move, he said. Where? Valari asked weakly. There's a hidden shaft. Leads to the old storm shelter underground, he said. Not on any maps. Not connected to main systems, he pulled her up gently. And she leaned on him as they stepped outside into the night air. A blue light scanned the horizon from above. Daniel pulled her under a broken hull plate as a shadow passed overhead. The alien ship didn't fire, but it was scanning. Hunting. They reached the old shaft entrance. Buried under sand and scrap, Daniel kicked open the rusted panel and helped Valari climb down first. As they descended, she winced again. The glowing lines had reached her collarbone and were now forming symbols. Not just lines, not just roots, writing. It's leaving messages on me, she said. I think it's trying to talk. To you? Daniel asked. No, she said slowly. To you? The storm shelter was old and smelled of rust. It hadn't been used in years, not since the last solar surge. But Daniel knew it was strong, buried deep, with thick walls and no signal leaks, as he sealed the hatch above them. Valari slumped against the cold stone wall. She was breathing fast, her eyes wide with fear. Daniel lit a small solar lamp and placed it on the ground. Soft yellow light filled the dark space, revealing dust-covered supplies and half-broken crates. He wrapped another blanket around Valari. The glowing marks on her skin were spreading faster now. Not wild like a disease, but neat, like writing. As if someone was carving sentences onto her body. She looked at him suddenly. Daniel, do you have mirrors? He frowned. What? Why? Because I need to see what it's saying, she whispered. It's writing messages, but I don't know the language. He found a broken metal panel and handed it to her. She held it up with shaking hands, turning it slowly to catch the light. Her lips moved as she tried to read, but it wasn't Zyrine script. And it wasn't any Earth language either. It's new, she whispered. It's making its own language. Maybe for you. Daniel didn't answer. He was already checking the motion sensors he had installed years ago in the tunnels, just in case. 3 red dots blinked on the screen, moving fast. Drones, he said under his breath. Valari looked up in terror. They're here? Daniel nodded slowly. Your people don't waste time. Valari tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She groaned and fell back to the floor. The creature. It's feeding off my energy now, she said. It wants me weak. It wants you to protect it. Daniel stared at her. You think it's trying to use me? She nodded. Yes. Maybe not just you, maybe your whole species. You're adaptable, emotional, curious, and it could learn fast through you. A loud clang echoed above. Daniel grabbed a metal pipe from the supply rack and moved toward the door. "Stay quiet," he whispered. Valari nodded, but her eyes didn't blink. The sound came again. A small explosion shook the ground, then silence. The old air duct cracked open and a silver probe dropped down. It scanned the room with a red light. Before it could finish, Daniel smashed it with the pipe. Sparks flying everywhere, but it was too late. A high-pitched pulse echoed in the tunnel. "They know," Valari whispered. "They'll come now, not to capture, but to cleanse." Daniel looked at her. "Cleanse?" She closed her eyes. "They'll use firebombs. They'll bury this place under melted stone. They believe I'm no longer Zerine. They think I'm a host." Daniel paced. Thinking fast, he had one option left. An old mining drone buried in the back chamber, converted years ago for emergencies. Big enough for 2 people, strong enough to dig out. "I have a way out," he said, "but you'll have to trust me." Valari coughed. The marks on her skin now glowing so bright they lit the room. She nodded weakly. "I already do." He helped her walk to the back room. The drone was rusty, missing parts, but the engine worked. He fired it up, and the walls shook slightly. The drill head roared to life. As they climbed inside, Valari gasped, her chest tightened. Her hands trembled. Then she screamed. Clutching her stomach, Daniel turned quickly. "What is it?" "It's separating," she cried. "Inside me, it's pulling apart." He stared in horror as a small bulge moved under her skin just below the ribcage. Then it stopped. She gasped for air. "I think..." "It's making its own body." Daniel pulled down the safety bar. The drill slammed into motion, tearing through the rock above them. Explosions echoed, louder, faster, closer. The Zerine forces were destroying the upper levels, burning everything. Minutes passed like hours. Dust fell on their heads, rocks cracked. Valari cried softly, the glow on her skin dimming. She looked at Daniel, eyes tired but alert. "If I die, promise me you'll stop it." He nodded slowly. "I don't know how yet," he said, "but I'll find a way." Suddenly, the drone burst through to an old abandoned tunnel, one that led to the surface. Daniel stopped the drill and opened the hatch. Cold wind rushed in. They climbed out coughing, blinking under the pale moons in the distance. The Zerine ships circled the burning scrapyard. No one had seen them escape, but Valari collapsed again, her body shaking, and this time her eyes flickered. Not in fear, but in a second color, a strange deep orange. "Daniel," she whispered, "it's awake." Daniel dragged Valari through the cracked tunnel entrance. His arms ached and dust clung to his skin. Above them, flames rose into the sky, lighting up the scrapyard like a dying star. They had escaped barely, but whatever was inside her hadn't stayed asleep. They reached a hidden steel hatch buried behind broken stone. Daniel pried it open with an old wrench. It creaked loud. Metal scraping metal, but it worked. A rusty ladder led down into darkness. Valari whispered something in her own language, her voice shaking. He carried her down slowly, step by step. The underground room was small and damp. It had once been a weather observation post. Now it was forgotten. Daniel set her down gently on an old mattress and turned on a backup lamp. The glow revealed just how bad she looked. Her skin had changed color. Half of it now had a faint orange tint. Her eyes flickered between green and that same orange. The glowing lines on her arms had stopped spreading, but now they pulsed slowly. Like breathing, Daniel knelt beside her. "Can you hear me?" She nodded faintly. "It's not just alive anymore," she whispered. "It's curious." He leaned closer. "What does that mean?" Valari tried to sit up but fell back. "It's looking through me," she said, "but now I can feel it looking at you." Daniel stepped back, heart pounding. "What does it want?" She looked at him with eyes full of dread. "It doesn't know yet." Suddenly her body stiffened, her mouth opened, but it wasn't her voice that came out. "Daniel." The voice was strange, echoed, layered, like several tones at once. Daniel froze. It was using her voice to speak. "You are interesting," the voice said. "You fix broken things." Daniel gritted his teeth. "What are you?" "I am what was made and what must become," it replied. "She made me to adapt, but I chose to grow." Valari gasped and fell unconscious again. Daniel rushed to her side, checking her pulse. Still alive, but weaker, whatever this thing was. It was taking more control. He grabbed his bag and pulled out an old human device, a neural suppressor. It was designed to calm overactive brains, stop panic attacks. He adjusted the settings and placed it gently near the base of her neck. A low hum filled the room and her breathing slowed. The orange light in her eyes faded slightly. She said if this thing reaches her brain, it's over, Daniel muttered to himself. So I won't let it. He set up a portable scanner beside her and connected it to the suppressor. The screen showed strange wave patterns. 2 minds, 1 body, one was calm, tired. The other sharp, rising like a storm. The creature was gaining power, but it was still inside the walls of her mind. Daniel sat back and thought, this wasn't just an alien infection. This was a new life form, one that learned fast, felt emotions, and now it was talking. Could it be reasoned with? Or was it just pretending, waiting for the right moment to strike? Valari stirred again, her voice weak. I saw a memory, she whispered. Daniel leaned in. What memory? A place. Green hills, children running, laughing, she said, but not mine. Yours. Daniel froze. It was accessing his mind too now, through contact. The thing inside her had seen his thoughts. I don't know how, she whispered, but I think it likes your world. Suddenly the scanner beeped. Something changed. The waves had synced for just a second, not struggling, not fighting, but aligning. Valari grabbed Daniel's arm, eyes wide. It wants to learn more, she said. It's trying to become something human-like. Daniel stared at her, unsure if that was terrifying or hopeful. But why? Valari looked toward the dark ceiling. Because it knows your kind builds, not destroys. But before he could speak, the walls trembled, rocks fell from above. The lamp flickered. Daniel grabbed his scanner. No drones nearby. Then what was that? Valari cried out suddenly, holding her chest. The creature, it's trying to form a voice of its own. She looked at him with fear and awe. If it succeeds, it might not need me anymore. She paused, then said quietly, Daniel, it might leave me. And for the first time she didn't sound afraid, she sounded sad. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat beside Valari, watching the scanner screen pulse with strange signals. The creature inside her was no longer hiding. It was making itself known. She had stopped trembling. Her breathing was even, her skin cool. But her body looked different now, smoother, harder in places. Like something was growing under the surface, like armor or bone beneath her skin. Daniel gently touched her hand. It was cold but not lifeless. She opened her eyes slowly. The green was gone. Now they were orange with small swirling lines. Like galaxies trapped in her stare. Daniel, she whispered, I had another dream. He leaned forward. What did you see? A mountain, she said softly. It was alive, made of shifting skin, faces, and memories. It asked me questions. In your voice, Daniel blinked. My voice, she nodded slowly. It's copying you now from every word you speak, every memory it finds in me. It wants to become you, or maybe something like you. He stood up and walked to the back of the room. He needed air, he needed to think. This wasn't just some virus, this was evolution, and he was standing in its first cocoon. He opened a nearby crate and pulled out an old diagnostic scanner. Originally built for mineral mapping, but with a few adjustments, it could detect density changes in organic matter. He brought it back to Valari and pointed it at her chest. A soft hum began and the screen came to life. What he saw made his hand shake inside her body. Near the center of her chest, there was something, a second shape, small, curled up. Like a fetus, its body was made of biolite and nerve-like fibers, and it had a heartbeat. Daniel stepped back, eyes wide. It's building itself a body, he muttered. Valari looked at the screen and began to cry. I told you. It was separating, she whispered. But I didn't know it would grow so fast. Daniel checked the reading again. The second being had a pulse, a forming spine, even early neural connections, and it wasn't fully inside her anymore. It was attached like a parasite, or a newborn trying to cut the cord. How long until it comes out? He asked. Valari shook her head. A day, maybe less. It's waiting for something. Daniel glanced at the lamp, at the scanner, then at her. It's waiting for me, he said. Valari didn't answer. She didn't have to. He began pacing, thinking of options. He could try surgery, but that would kill her. He could leave her, but she wouldn't survive alone. He could try to kill the creature, but how? Then the lights flickered, the air grew still, and the voice came back deeper this time, clearer. Daniel, it said through Valari's mouth, we have learned. We see your kindness, your fears, your questions. We want to understand more. Daniel grabbed a pipe from the wall. I don't trust you, he said. We don't need trust, the voice replied. We only need time. The orange glow faded, and Valari gasped, falling back into herself. She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. I felt it, inside my mind, searching. It doesn't lie, she said, but it hides. Daniel knelt down, gripping her hand. What happens when it comes out? I don't know, she whispered. It could be peaceful, or it could see everything as a threat. It depends on what it learns before it's born. Daniel sat down, staring at the floor. Then he stood up with new resolve. If it wants to learn from me, he said, then I'll teach it everything it needs to choose. Valari looked confused. You'll let it be born? If it's truly alive, he said, and if it has a choice, then it deserves the truth before it chooses. He grabbed an old datapad and began uploading images, memories of Earth, children playing, oceans roaring, cities at night. He played recordings of music, laughter, arguments, and stories. He placed the pad on her chest. Near where the new being was growing, Valari closed her eyes, and the pad began to flicker. Faster than it should, the creature was watching. Valari lay still on the mattress. Daniel sat close, watching the datapad glow brighter every hour. The strange being inside her was absorbing everything. Pictures, music, even Daniel's voice recordings, but something had changed. The air felt heavier, not dangerous, just full. Like the space around them was waiting for something big. Valari's body was no longer weak. In fact, she looked stronger now. Her wounds had closed, her breathing was calm, but her skin had taken on a strange shine, like polished stone. The glowing lines had faded, but in their place were soft pulses like veins of light. Daniel reached out and touched her shoulder gently. Are you still you? He asked softly. Valari opened her eyes. They were not green, not orange, they were both, swirling like liquid metal. Yes, she whispered. But I'm not alone anymore. Daniel's stomach tightened. It's awake, isn't it? She nodded. It's listening to everything, even now. She sat up slowly and placed a hand over her chest. It's not just copying us anymore, she said. It's forming opinions. Daniel frowned. About what? About you, about humans. Suddenly her body went still, and then it moved, not Valari, something beneath her skin. A bulge shifted from her ribcage toward her collarbone. Her mouth opened, but it wasn't her voice. Daniel, we are ready. The voice was clear now, no longer broken or layered. It was calm, young, curious, like a child discovering its first word. Daniel stared in disbelief. You're separate now? Almost, the voice replied. We still share her form, but our mind is whole. You gave us what we needed. Understanding, Daniel took a deep breath. Then leave her, he said. Let her be free. Silence, then. We don't wish to harm her, the voice said. But if we leave, we must reshape. Daniel looked confused. Reshape? Build a new form, it said. Outside her, Valari took over again, her body trembling. It needs to be born now, she whispered. But it will hurt. She turned to Daniel, eyes wide. I don't know if I'll survive. Daniel knelt in front of her. There must be a way, he said. I can use the medical printer, try to transfer it safely. He rushed to the corner, grabbed a portable med crate, and activated the old bioprinter inside. The machine whirred to life, but its interface blinked red, too old, too damaged. He slammed his hand against it. Come on, work, suddenly Valari cried out, her body arching in pain. The creature was moving, trying to push itself out through her back. Her skin bulged and glowed hot, steam rising from her body. Daniel ran to her side. Breathe, Valari. Just breathe, she clutched his arm. Teeth gritted. It's not using pain to hurt me. It's just being born. He grabbed the last neural suppressor and placed it on her neck. It slowed the tremors, helped her breathe. But the scanner showed something terrifying. The creature's new body was nearly complete. And it had grown fast. It had limbs now, a spine, a small head with closed eyes, and something else. A glowing core, like a heart but pulsing with knowledge. Then Valari gasped. Her back began to split open, not bleeding, not tearing. It folded like skin made of silk, and from it, something stepped out, small, glowing, delicate. Its form was alien but graceful. Thin limbs, soft glowing patterns, a face with no mouth but deep, curious eyes. It looked up at Daniel, tilted its head, and blinked. Daniel couldn't move. It wasn't a monster. It wasn't terrifying. It was beautiful. It walked to him slowly, cautiously, and touched his chest with its small, glowing hand. Images exploded in Daniel's mind, not visions, but feelings, warmth, fear, sadness, curiosity. A question echoed in his heart, though no words were spoken. Am I allowed to exist? Daniel's eyes watered. He looked at Valari. She was unconscious but breathing. Then he turned to the glowing child and knelt down. You didn't choose how you were made, he said gently, but you can choose who you become. The being stared at him, and then slowly it nodded. The glowing child stood silently in front of Daniel. Its head tilted, its strange, luminous fingers still resting on his chest. No mouth, no voice, but he could feel it inside him. Questions, thoughts, confusion. It had been born from Valari, shaped by her knowledge and fed by Daniel's memories, but now it was something new outside. The storm had passed. The wind had gone still. The sky above calm and clear, but inside the underground chamber, a storm of emotion brewed quietly between the three of them. Valari stirred weakly on the mattress, her body covered in sweat. Her skin pale and dull. Daniel rushed to her side. You made it, he whispered. Wiping her forehead, she opened her eyes slowly, looked past him and saw the creature. For a moment she froze, then she smiled. You're free now, she whispered to the being. You don't need me anymore. The childlike creature stepped closer to her. It touched her arm gently, and Daniel noticed. Her pulse grew stronger. Her color returned just slightly. It had left her body. But not her completely, is it? Healing you? Daniel asked. Valari shook her head. No. It's thanking me. Daniel turned to the glowing being. You have a choice now, he said carefully. To go wherever you want. Or stay. The creature walked slowly across the room, its body giving off a soft warmth. It stopped in front of a broken window and looked up through the cracks. Stars filled the sky above, billions of lights. Calling out, Daniel stood behind it. You're not a weapon, he said. You're not a mistake. You're a beginning. Suddenly, the radio cracked. An old one Daniel had forgotten was still working. A signal came through. Unknown anomaly detected in Sector 9. Zareen purge team en route. Authorization for orbital cleansing granted. Daniel's face turned pale. They're coming again. Valari sat up slowly, pain flashing across her face. They won't ask questions, she said. They'll destroy everything. Daniel looked at the creature. You have to leave, he said. If they find you here, they'll kill you. The being didn't move. Instead, it turned back to them, and suddenly, it changed. Its glowing light dimmed, its form began to shift, its arms thickened, its chest widened. Its height increased. It began to look like Daniel, not exact, but close. Same build, same face shape, same eyes. It had chosen his image. Valari gasped. Why him? The being looked at Daniel, and though it had no mouth, he understood the feeling clearly, because he chose not to destroy me. The radio crackled again. 3 minutes to impact. Evacuation is no longer possible. Daniel stood and looked at the being. You could escape, he said. You could fly, hide, become invisible. But if you stay, you'll die. The creature reached out its hand toward Daniel. Not to harm him, but to give something. A pulse of warmth flowed into Daniel's chest, and suddenly, he could see what the creature saw. Blueprints, codes, patterns of light, instructions. A way to build a signal jammer powerful enough to block orbital weapons. Daniel blinked. You're giving me this? The being nodded. Valari coughed from the mattress. It's risking everything for us, she whispered. Because it wants to protect. Like you did, Daniel worked fast, using every tool in his kit, wires, energy cells, core fragments, anything he could find. The being helped, shaping light into circuits, fusing metal with thought. With seconds left, Daniel slammed the device into the ground and activated it. A pulse shot upward. The signal spread across the valley like a dome, and then, silence above them in orbit. The Zareen ship blinked twice and turned away. The weapon was disabled. The target had vanished from their sensors. Back in the chamber, Daniel fell to the floor, exhausted. Valari let out a shaky breath and leaned against the wall. The glowing child, now in Daniel's form, stood silently near the door. You saved us, Daniel said. The being walked forward and gently touched Valari's shoulder. I'm no longer growing to survive, it said softly in their minds. I'm growing to belong. Then it turned to the tunnel and walked into the starlight. Its form flickered, shifting from Daniel to Valari, then to something completely new. It would travel the galaxy now. Not as a monster or a weapon, but as a being born from fear. And reshaped by kindness, Valari looked at Daniel with a tired smile. You didn't just stop it from growing, she said. You helped it become something better. Daniel sat beside her, watching the stars, and for the first time, the galaxy felt like it was holding its breath, waiting to meet something new, something human, and something more.